Okay, so we are going to look at, we're going to compare two methods. And in this video, we're going to answer the question, why do we even have this new technique? So why do we even have the perfect square trie technique? Oh, look at that. You get to see my little woodsy background there. Okay. So we're going to look at solving by factoring and solving by the perfect square trinomial technique. So we'll just do our regular solve by factoring over here. And we'll do our fancy perfect square trinomial technique over here. Okay, so let's do x squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 25. Okay, so to solve by factoring, we would set the equation equal to 0. We're going to subtract 25 from both sides. We're going to get x squared plus 14x plus 24. Yep, equals 0. We're going to get the factors of 24. That's a 4. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, and there's our factor pair right there, 2 and 12. So we get x plus 2 times x plus 12 equals 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, which gives us x equals -2, and x plus 12 equals 0 gives us x equals -12. So why have this, if we can solve this by factoring, why have this perfect square trinomial method? So we're going to just redo this. X squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 25. So if we're lucky and we're paying attention, which doesn't happen a ton, but if we're lucky and we're paying attention, we're going to notice, oh, it's a perfect square trinomial. So one reason that we have this method is because if it's a perfect square trinomial, the process of factoring is so much easier. Factoring this, x squared plus 14x plus 49, is way easier than factoring x squared plus 14x plus 24. If you're really good at factoring, there's not much difference between those, but it's still a little easier. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides. And then we're going to get x plus 7 equals plus or minus 5. So we have just like in the factoring side where we had two cases, we're still going to have two cases. We're going to have x plus 7 equals 5 and x plus 7 equals -5. This one, x plus 7 equals +5, is going to give us our -2 solution. And x plus 7 equals -5 gives us our -12 solution. So why have a second method? Like, what's the point of it other than to confuse algebra students? Let's look at another one. Let's look at, let's do x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 5. Okay, if we notice that this is a perfect square trinomial, we get, well, actually, let's do it by factoring first. Okay, if we solve by factoring, we subtract 5 from both sides, and we get x squared plus 10x plus 20 equals 0. And then we list our factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Did I miss any factors? No, okay. The 20 is positive, so we're looking to add these factors to get 10. That's 21, that's 12. Huh. So we have over here a trinomial. We can't factor it. Does that mean there's no solution to this equation? Huh, I wonder. If you notice that it's a perfect square trinomial, you can factor, oh look, there's a perfect square trinomial. How convenient. You can factor that first, x plus 5 squared. This would have been better if I had chosen something other than 5 for our right-hand side, but oh well. Take the square root of both sides, and we get x plus 5 equals plus or minus root 5. So we make two cases out of that. X plus 5 equals positive square root of 5. X plus 5 equals negative square root of 5. Notice negative square root of 5 is different from square root of negative 5. We're not doing square root of negative 5. We're doing negative square root of 5. So subtract 5 here. We get x equals negative 5 plus the square root of 5. Subtract 5 here. And we get x equals negative 5 minus the square root of 5. So it's not that when over on the left, when we tried to factor, we couldn't factor it. It's not because there's no solution. There is a solution. It just happens to be an irrational solution. When we have an irrational solution, we can't factor it because you can't find irrational factors. But if you're lucky and your left side of the equation is a perfect square trinomial, I'll put a little smiley face over here because it's a perfect square trinomial. If you're lucky and you have a perfect square trinomial, then you can solve it. So that's what this method does, is it gives us a way to solve some equations that previously could not be solved.